welcome to the KIMIYA Healing Podcast. I have been meaning to podcast for quite a while actually, and I feel like I have been kind of overwhelmed with all of the things I want to talk about and the ideas that are flowing through me. And every time I sit down to podcast, I just think, well, I don't even know where to start. And that's why this podcast is going to be about what to do when you feel overwhelmed with all of the things that you want to express, that you want to share, that you want to do, and what that means, first of all, and what you can do about it. So here I am after 2 weeks of pouring out ideas within myself and wanting to share it all with you guys. And finally, here I am in bed with Rambo making this podcast. So the first thing is that I have learned about this whole experience of almost just having so much coming through my body and so much inspiration coming from within me is that this is a very natural state. It's a very natural state of creativity. It's a natural state that exists within you. And you might feel it, but you might feel it in different ways. And sometimes it can actually, you can feel very inspired and very motivated. And sometimes you may end up feeling kind of overwhelmed and maybe anxious. And some of this is how you're interpreting your own feelings. Some of it is how you're interpreting your own sensation. So if your default is to go into, oh, well, this is a feeling of anxiety, then you're going to get stuck in that narrative. So just be aware that when you interpret sensation, you need to be open-minded as to every sensation has a multitude of textures that it can invite you into, and you got to choose where you're going to focus. So I've been through this whole spectrum of trying to really tap into what these feelings are. And for me, it was a bit of a mixture of excitement and then overwhelm, and then excitement again, and then, wow, I really want to share, I really want to teach XYZ, and I want to do a course on ABC, and oh no, but I'm not doing anything. So now what? Now I'm even more overwhelmed. The next day I get another idea. And it's a bit like being a bit like being a tortured creative in a way. And the torture comes from not realizing it and not birthing it. And what this is really is the feminine cauldron spiraling, and the feminine energy dancing through, creating and moving in its all sorts of unpredictable ways. And I realized myself that this is a call for more structure. This is a call for the masculine energy to be able to hold the structure that allows these ideas and these energies to come forth, and to come forth clearly. So what I mean by that is it's very difficult to create and birth consistently when you don't have the structures in place and the systems in place that you need in order to hold and allow and deliver the energy in and deliver the ideas in. So one simple thing I did was I had all these ideas for things I wanted to write, wanted to teach, wanted to share, podcasts I wanted to make, and I just thought, well, how on earth am I supposed to know where to start? What do I do first? So the first thing I did was I recognized that actually this is not overwhelm. This is a huge opportunity for me. And in order to recognize it's an opportunity, first I need to frame my mind there. I need to allow myself to conceptualize whatever's coming through me is an opportunity. So that's my first tip for you. Allow yourself to frame whatever is coming through you, instead of as obstacles and as overwhelm, frame them as an opportunity. You start to relate to them differently. The next thing is write them down. So I made a huge list of all of the podcasts that I wanted to create. Just wrote down all of the ideas, and I think I've got about 40 different topics, 40 different titles, and then categorized them into different topic areas. And for me, that was a very basic way of creating some structure. And that is, again, a very powerful aspect of the masculine energy, is to almost clarify, create these little containers, create these systems that allow the creativity to flow through. So just doing that practice alone, writing things down, can really help you to clarify, especially if you are feeling like there's so much to do, or that you've got so many things you want to do and you don't really know where to start. And for those of you who are running busy households and you've got, a family, young children, a partner, a job, a business, maybe a business on the side, or a creative outlet on the side, and you're trying to find time for all these things. And that can be really challenging if you don't have some structure in place to help you organize your thoughts, organize your life. So I use Trello boards, and I have my entire life is in Trello, organized into little lists, and I find that really, really helpful. So that's something that you might want to explore. It's free online software, really easy to use. It's just like a to-do list with a bit more features. So the point and the reason why I'm mentioning this is because it's so important that we find that balance between the masculine and the feminine, and we appreciate what they're bringing in when they harmonize and why they need to be in balance. Because when the feminine is out there dancing through creation, birthing, and bringing forth all kinds of ideas, and allowing herself to feel all the feels and embrace the mystery that comes every day, you can get very washed away in that. You can get very lost in that if you don't have direction and clarity and structure to let you materialize it in a grounded way. And that's where the masculine comes in. When these aspects of yourself, when they start to, before they start to balance, you'll start to notice imbalance. So you'll obviously notice that in your life, in your thoughts, in your behaviors, in your emotions, your relationships. You'll notice it. When you can notice it happening inside you, when you can notice opportunity to balance more deeply your masculine and your feminine, the third tip I have for you is to see if you can clarify what needs to be done. So how can you bring your masculine and your feminine energy more into harmony so that they're supportive of each other? And when I say masculine and feminine, I'm not talking about male or female. I'm talking about principles of stillness and movement, of spiraling, and of direction. When these energetic principles are felt, and when you can feel yourself going through a particular experience of it, this is a really, really powerful way that you can, instead of externalizing the masculine feminine energies, you can internalize it. When you internalize it, you start to give yourself the choice to do something about it, to change the balance, to deepen the harmony. And as I said, the way that you can do that is to just notice how it's showing up in your life. One of the things that I notice in people who are very creative, intuitive, deeply feeling, and very connected to other people, empathic, etc., is often what is missing is the masculine structure and the masculine clarity and discipline as well. That's a really, really important one to cultivate within yourself if you are looking for those higher levels of creativity. So what it actually does is it will allow you to be even more creative because you have a canvas. So the masculine energy is like a canvas. It's like a vast energetic plane. It doesn't have edges, but you can create the edges wherever you want. You can create the container wherever you need. And within that you dance, you birth, you paint, you explore, you express. And the more you do that, the more your feminine energy is allowed to do that, that canvas expands. That is the most incredible and powerful experience. It's the expanding canvas within, it's expanding masculine energy within that reminds you and that assures you that you can feel it all and that you can go ever deeper and that you can just keep going and you can keep moving and you can move through anything. And you wouldn't know that if you didn't have the backdrop of stillness. So again, it's coming back down to what I teach a lot, which is the movement and the stillness as ultimate principles. So exploring that within yourself, especially if you are trying to create something new, or if you are juggling lots of things and you've got a lot on your plate, just maybe sitting down, taking a notepad out and just recognizing what are the feminine energies in your life, how are they expressing themselves, how are they expressing themselves through you, and what about the masculine energies, how are they expressing themselves through you, and are you allowing yourself to have a bit of both and to be aware of both. Again, if we're too much in the masculine energy, we can really lose touch with that, with the mystery, with the mysterious, with the unknown, with almost the inflections that life can bring us, particularly the emotional inflections that lead us into new territory. If we become too rigid, we become too laser focused, and I've been very susceptible to this because I often become very, very focused on something and I've got like absolute tunnel vision. You can't get me out of that tunnel. It's like a rabbit hole. And sometimes I lose that kind of, that play, that dance. So I have to remind myself of the polarities and how I can always be mastering and trying to remain in a balance. So when the masculine and the feminine are brought together, essentially what you're left with is a state of being which is quite magical, I would say, quite mystical. It's almost effortless, and it's something that you might have felt when you're in a flow state, or you might have felt it when you just feel so aligned and so at ease, and it feels right. It's like the world feels right and you feel right and everything feels right, and it's a good feeling. And it comes from deep within you because nothing outside has changed. Nothing drastic has happened. This is the alignment that you taste it, you feel it, you know it. And so even if you're listening to this and you might be like, what's she talking about? What, masculine, what feminine, what? You know the feeling of being in an effortless alignment. You might not recognize it at the time. You might maybe even take it for granted. But often we reflect when we're not feeling that feeling, and then we go, oh wow, I really now remember those times. I want that feeling back. And you will have some trace of that, even if it's a few moments or a few hours or a few days. It doesn't matter whether you've had an hour of that in your entire life or whether you live like that all the time. It doesn't matter. What matters is that it exists within you to have that harmony, that union. And if you can experience it for even 1 second, you can experience it for longer. And you have to train yourself to hold that frequency. You have to train yourself to hold it in a way that it expands and that it becomes self-fulfilling. And I'm going to do another podcast about that and what that actually means. So the tips that I have for you to really balance your masculine and your feminine in order to bring forth and birth your creation into this world, whatever it is that you're creating, whether you're creating art or maybe you're creating a new business, maybe you're creating something for your children in the garden, maybe you're creating a new relationship, whatever it is, just remember that the magic formula is when these two aspects of you that create your identity, when they come together and they can be mutually supportive and they can be mutually intertwined, such that their presence alone cultivates each other. That is a state of inner union, and that exists within all of us. I often do believe that we're actually in that state more than we give ourselves credit for. I think that because we identify often with gender, many people do, some people don't, but I think it can lead to maybe some bias that we're in a certain energy more than others. You know, you hear people say, I'm in my masculine energy today, or oh yeah, I'm in my feminine energy. And you're actually always in both, obviously. You're in both, and it's just, what are you bringing your awareness to? What are you calibrating within yourself? What are you fine-tuning, and why? And my final tip is try not to leave it until there's a crisis. This is often, obviously, when people seek help, when they're in a crisis, when the masculine and feminine polarities have become so disjointed and distorted that there's actually big conflict. And the conflict actually usually starts within. So it starts within and manifests externally. And we don't pay attention, of course, until we're in a real problem and we're having a real crisis. And that can be a relational crisis, that can be maybe deep discord between you and your partner, or that could be a real challenge that you're experiencing in your career, where maybe you're forced to be in one energy type more than the other, and it's really starting to affect your balance, your emotional balance, etc. And that was certainly the case for me when I was in a very male-dominated environment, having to be totally in my head all the time, and it was never enough. I was never in my head enough in that environment, and I didn't even realize I was jeopardizing and sacrificing my feminine essence, because I didn't even know what that was. So, we go through our stages of awareness, and you can't be aware of what you're not aware of. You learn through the process of life. But when you have learned these and you have been through enough, my point is, let yourself cultivate this as a daily practice. Don't wait for circumstances to arise for you to see, oh wow, I am really, really out of alignment and I'm really out of balance. Because by that time it becomes very painful, it becomes hurtful, and you're facing something more complicated than what could have been perhaps resolved several years ago through deeper self-reflection and self-healing. And now you've actually got a huge situationship, if you want to use that word, on your plate. So again, this is the value of daily self-healing, not crisis management. So I hope that helps. And if you want to learn more about the masculine and the feminine energy uniting and how to cultivate that within your own womb space, then join us in the next womb room, because I'm going to be teaching this from a somatic and an energetic perspective. So rather than just listening and conceptualizing it, you're going to actually try it out in your day-to-day life. And this is why I've created the Womb Room as a 1-year program now, because it takes time to cultivate these practices in your day-to-day life. It takes time to see the benefits of your identity shifting, and you're going to have a whole year and loads of support to do this in. So if you want to join, there's still time. Reach out to me or visit my website, kimiyahealing.co.uk/womb room. I will see you on the next one.